Now that you have an understanding of the core concepts of Softr, let's dive into the studio and set up our first application. In this video, we're going to walk through the basics of Airtable and how to connect Airtable to Softr. Then we're going to create some of our core pages. In addition, we're going to visualize our data as a list and list details block. Now, I know some of you may be using Google Sheets as your data source at this point. At the time of me recording this video, we have just released this feature. So I still encourage you to walk through this video as it will teach you some of the core concepts of getting your app set up. However, we will create a second bite-sized video that will teach you how to connect your Google Sheets data to Softr. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's dive right in. For the use case in this video series, let's say we're creating a very simple employee portal. Basically what this is it allows employees and managers to log into an app and essentially see information about themselves, update their own profile information, as well as see a directory of other employees in the company and what departments they work for and what their title is. In addition, we'll also add a very simple form that allows them to request time off. Now, before we dive into Softr, we actually want to start with our Airtable database and making sure all of our data is set up correctly. So let's zip over to Airtable and take a look at what I built. Now, most data consists of 4 core concepts. So with Airtable, we have the base, which is essentially like the home that holds all of your information for your workflow. So for this project, the base is the employee directory. A base could essentially be a spreadsheet in Google Sheets, but it's the same concept, my employee directory spreadsheet. Additionally, you have the table, which contains a set of information. In this case, my tables are employees, employee time off, departments, and each table is separate from others with its own data, but it's also possible to link these together, which we'll cover in a future video. Similarly, in Google Sheets, we have the employee list, the employee time off, and the departments. The next concept are records. So records are just individual items in a table. So for our records under the employee list table, we have Leslie Nope, Ann Perkins, April Ludgate, Andy Dwyer, Ron Swanson, and Joe. Lastly, you have fields. A field stores custom details related to each record. So fields are displayed in vertical columns across your table's view. Each field is designed to store one type of information. So the fields here are name, location, email, photo, seniority, and then within Google Sheets, we have the same thing. Here's the thing. We highly suggest making sure your data is set up properly before diving into building your app on Softr. If you're new to Airtable or Google Sheets, I would suggest you familiarize yourself with the core concepts. That way you can ensure all of your data is ready to rock, and then you can build your app in Softr quite quickly. All right, so now we have our tables set up and our records populated. So employees, departments, and requesting time off. We also have a better idea of what functionality we need in our Softr app. So let's head over to the Softr Studio and create our first application. So I'm actually going to head to New Application, and we're going to start with a blank application from scratch. Although we do have a lot of really great templates to choose from, again, for the sake of learning the core concepts, let's start from the beginning. So I'm going to choose blank application. And next, it's going to ask me to connect to my Airtable API key. So to find that key, you're actually going to head back over to your Airtable and head to your Airtable account. In your account overview, you'll see here this API key. All you need to do is simply click into the API key, copy it, head back over to the studio, and paste that Airtable key. Now that we've connected our Airtable account, Softr will actually prompt me to auto-create a set of pages. So why does Softr auto-suggest these? Well, if you're going to create an app that allows users to log in, create an account, see a certain set of information, then edit and update that information, this is the base level of the pages that you'll need. So they actually just make it easy for you. So in my case, I'm actually going to need all of these pages to make it happen. So let's go ahead and click Create Application. As you can see here, Softr will walk us through this handy Getting Started checklist. Now, as you can see, we've connected our data source, so the first check mark is done. Now, let's jump in and visualize our data as a list. Remember, Softr is providing a front end to our Airtable database. So in this case, we want to view our employees on Softr, and one of the best ways we can do that is what we call the list block. What's great is Softr has already set this up for us. So let's head to Pages, and then we'll head to the list page. As you will see here, we already have a list block added. We can just X out of this, and we can click into it anytime we need. But for now, let's X out. Now, there are several different list blocks to choose from, each with various layouts, which you can add block by block. But let's connect to the list details block Softr created for us so you can see how easily this works. So I click into the list block, as you've seen, and you're going to see this right sidebar pop up. The first stop is the data tab. Next, we choose the Airtable base, which is our employee directory. Then we need to choose the table. As you guys remember, these are the different tables, right? Employee list, employee time off, and departments. For this list block, I want to see all of my different employees in a visual way. So let's choose the employee list table. Now, you will notice the data does not automatically generate. That's because we need to map the fields to these list items. So to do that, we actually hop over to the Features tab right here, and we head down to Item Fields. So this is just us basically saying, hey, Softr, we want you to pull this image field from Airtable and show it visually on this list card. We need to tell Airtable what to display, and that's exactly what we do here. So type image, content, let's see, I'm gonna choose photo because that's what I have named this field here, photo. And as you can see, boom, we are already visually seeing our data displayed in the Softr app. Pretty cool, right? So you can additionally add more fields. So let's say like I wanna add the name, type in name. All right, there we go. Now their names are there. And maybe we want to add their bio, perfect. You can add additional fields if you would like, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's just keep going. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just hit publish because it's easy enough to do and you already have this up. As we know, there's a lot more information about this employee on our Airtable base, but we don't necessarily want to show all of that information on the card itself. What we want is for the user to be able to click into the card, which opens up another page displaying all of the information about that employee. So how we make that happen is through our list details block. So to create a list details block, we're actually going to want to create a new page. But because Softr is helpful, they already created it for us. So go under pages and then list details. And here you will see the list details page. Now we can see it's here, but it's with dummy data. So what do we need to do? We need to connect Airtable to this list details block, just like we did in the list page. So head over to data, source, Airtable. Again, we want to find our base and then our table, which as we remember is the employee list. Head over to the Features tab and once again, map the fields to the list items. Except this time, I want to display even more information, such as their bio, maybe their email, when they started working in the company, their mailing address. And don't worry, we can make this type of information only visible to a certain type of user, depending upon if they're employee, manager, director, etc. Something we'll cover in the next videos. But for now, let's just go ahead and map some of these fields so you can see what it looks like. Now, one of the things you'll notice as we're going along is when you open up the fields, you have the option for the type, which is telling you what type of field you want to show here. Then you have the option to change the label. So as you can see here, I don't want this to say label. I probably want this to say, employee bio. Perfect. And then you can connect the content there. In addition, you have the option to duplicate fields if you want, or delete any fields that you really don't need. Okay, great. So now I've created a list block, which displays the records or employees as a list, showing a few item fields. Then we've created a list details block, which is displaying additional information about the employee. So the last step is simply linking these two together. In order to link the details page to the list, we need to go back to your list page. So we'll go to Pages, List, and then click into it, go to Features on the sidebar, and then Item on Click, Action. You're gonna choose Open Page, and then you're gonna find your list details page. It's as simple as that. I'm gonna publish. So now if I click Preview, you can see, boom. I see April Ludgate here, Animal Control Management, that's her title, click into it. Now I see all the information about April. And that was truly just a few simple steps. So now you can begin to think about the various ways you can use your list and list details block in your app. Some examples of this in action could be an inventory management system, as shown here with our inventory manager template. You could also do a team wiki, which is a central hub for your company's resources, announcement, maybe an employee directory, and more. You can also do a job board, which one of our customers has done here. Honestly, the options are endless for what you can build with the list and list details block. We really want to know what you're building, so please share it with us on our community forum. We would love to check it out. I'll drop a link to that below. Now, there's so much more to come. Filtering and sorting, setting up specific user groups, and then defining what those user groups can have access to. We'll also discover Softr forms and how you can update your data in real time using form submissions. So let's go ahead and dive into the next videos.